Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sideline Stories. We've got a very special guest on the show today, Campbell Brown. How are you, mate?
Thanks for having me, boys.
No,
Good to
thanks
be here on the Goldie.
It's good.
Yes, it's very good. It's our first time up here at the Magic Million, so learning a lot, and it's very good so far.
This is my old stomping ground back in the day, so I can teach you a few things off air.
Oh, good. That's what we're here for.
So we'll start it off. Obviously, growing up, you born in Perth. Am I right? And
Yep, born in Perth. The old man obviously played a lot of footy over there, West Australian footy legend, and just started my footy journey barracking for the West Coast Eagles and living in Perth before we moved to Melbourne when I was 9 years of age in 1993.
yeah, nice. And then playing obviously junior footy and stuff. And then so how did that? You obviously get into how? When did you start knowing that this is going to become a professional thing for you?
Right from a young age, I used to love going and watching South Fremantle play down there and Fremantle Oval and West Coast Eagles, and growing up in a footy family. I probably thought early on that was something that I wanted to aspire to. I think if you ask some of my old school teachers in year 3 and 4 that when they'd say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And someone would say, a pilot, a firefighter. I always used to say I want to play AFL footy.
Yeah.
So it was probably a dream of mine from quite a young age. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, but when it comes to the draft aspect, I know these days it's so technical. They're spruiking kids years out from when they come through the draft. What was it like when you were going through?
Oh, it's very different to what it is today. I mean, your stars were standouts, like your Luke Hodges and your Chris Judds, Luke Balls, like they were always going to get drafted from 15, 16, 17. But probably for me, like I was a really good junior under 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s.
Yeah.
But then I was a late maturer, so I sort of didn't get the hair on the legs or under the arms. I was pretty small and those sort of things. And 14 to 17 is when kids mature at different ages. My footy went backwards, started to get a few issues in your knees and the growing pains in your ankles and things like that. And they're the important years that you need to play good footy if you want to be noticed by the recruiters. So had to work pretty hard on my game. I had a few deficiencies, like everyone does. Wasn't a great user or decision maker. Probably was a little bit slow. Could find the footy. I was a midfielder as a junior, but didn't have that breakaway pace or anything like that. So probably just a bit dour and not someone that stood out a lot if you're a recruiter watching a game. Yeah. But there were some aspects that Hawthorn liked, and there weren't too many other clubs that were overly keen on drafting me. So I'm pretty grateful that Hawthorn took a chance.
So it was Hawks was always the game plan?
Yeah, I grew up in Hawthorn. When we moved over from Perth, I played for Hawthorn Citizens. I knew a few guys that had been drafted to Hawthorn in the years leading up, Stephen Green, Tim Clark, Matthew Ball, some of those guys that I'd sort of played against in the APS football. And the guy that I'd trained with for a couple of years, Bowden Babicek, to improve my speed, was Hawthorn's strength and conditioning coach. So I sort of had a little link there. But when you nominate for the draft, you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Brisbane were probably the most keen outside of Hawthorn, and sort of looking at sliding doors moments, like if I get drafted to Brisbane in 2001, they just won their first flag. Yeah. They gone on win another 2, play in the 04 grand final. You're a young bloke trying to break into that side. No hope.
Yeah.
So, plus you've got to move into state and just, all that sort of stuff. So
big change. Getting
drafted by Hawthorn, which was 3 k's down the road from where I live with my parents, having some familiarity around, and they were a good side, but there were elements in that side that needed improvement, and I fitted the bill with some of that.
Be able to slot in. Was there any go home factor back then? Because we see it all the time now with all the kids that want to move back to Melbourne or Adelaide, but was
not
there
as much. I'm sure there might have been. It just might not have been as well publicised. But yeah, I think a lot of players just use that as a bit of an excuse now to get to the club that they originally wanted to go to.
Yeah.
So interstate teams need to come up with different philosophies around that. I think the Brisbane Lions have done that the best, getting the country boys, but finding mates together that can both play and getting them there, and surrounding themselves with a few familiar faces, because it can be quite daunting, I suppose, for a young kid leaving home and moving interstate. But if you really want something, you're really passionate about something, you do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I can't quite fathom about players wanting to leave, because
I never quite get it either, because like if you're playing, I'd give anything to play a game of AFL.
Exactly right.
So like,
and so would they when you ask them as a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old.
Yeah.
They'd say, I'll do anything. I'd play for anyone. And then when they get drafted interstate,
they only want
they
to play
change
in
their
Melbourne.
mind.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll forever be trying to work out exactly why, but that's my take on it.
No, fair enough. And how different is it? Obviously, there's a lot of science for the footy players now. Like, I know we've spoken to some, and there's so much that goes into it. Like, everything's tracked. Was it the same back when you were playing, or was it was probably just coming into that period where they're starting to discover a lot of that stuff? But it's probably not as serious as it.
Yeah, not as technical. Like I feel like 2001 was when I got drafted. The transition was they'd gone out of part-time footballers, and we were professionals, but it wasn't at the extreme that it is today. We still had GPS, trackers and things like that. A bit later in my career, they'd put things on your finger while you slept and try and monitor your REM cycles and all that. But that was towards the back end, whereas today, I think the players are under a fair bit more pressure. Coaches and fitness staff know, what sessions. You've got to send your sessions into the club during your off-season.
Now that Strava's a thing.
Like back in the day, like you'd do the session. Well, I would do the session, but might not do it the day that I was told to do it. You might do it the next day, or you might swap it around a little bit or something. Whereas now you got a session, bang, has to be done, delivered, no hiding. And so that adds a level of professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
But I still believe that you need to get a balance right between still enjoying yourself, your young guys and girls that are, wanting to have a social life, wanting to experience things that not that your mates can do because they're out drinking all the time and partying. But I couldn't have been one that was just like, I was really professional when I was at the club and trained and ate well and everything. But I always enjoyed a bit of a good time and have a beer and
that's the way it should be.
have a laugh.
You see so many players these days crack under the pressure, not from the game but from the outside aspect, because they're not getting that outlet.
Yeah. But you need to know what makes you tick a little bit, and you do that with experience and age. And there's some guys that are really intense, and they know within themselves that they can't go out and relax and switch off, whereas other guys, can do that. Guys like Swanee, Hodgie in his first 4 or 5 years at the club, loved to have a drink, would drive back to Colac with his mates and all that sort of stuff. And you just work out, you can't do that to the extreme, but you can't, be the other way and never drink and
Can't be the drill sergeant.
You find the middle that you can still play your best footy, still deliver, still be professional, but hit your little sweet spot where you can be yourself and enjoy.
100%. And we moved through your career a little bit. Was that 07 you were All-Australian? Yeah.
That's it.
That was probably your best year of footy.
No doubt. Yeah.
What was that pre-season that got into it that really changed and had your best year? Is it just kind of strung together? You just got some confidence about you, or is it anything in particular?
No, there's probably a few things. Like Andrew Russell was the Hawthorn fitness guy at the time, and it was his third season under Clarko. Clarko got there in 05. We built, as a group. 06 a stronger pre-season. 07 by then, we had a really good understanding of what elite training looked like, because it takes a little bit of time. Had a great pre-season, and then the other thing was Clarko had sort of identified my role in that side as being a key position defender. Even though I'm only 5'10", and small, I could play tallish on guys. And I remember he just rang me out of the blue. Must have been about round 3 or 4. And I just played my normal role for the first 3 weeks of the season on the medium tools. And he rang me leading up to the Essendon game. And Scotty Lucas was leading the Coleman medal. Yeah. He'd had a huge start to the year. And he said to me, mate, we're going to play on Scotty Lucas at centre half back. Like, I go, shit, like I'm giving away 6 inches and he's flying, and he goes, no, don't worry about that, just play the way you normally do, bring the ball to ground, you got the leg speed to keep up with him on the lead. And I played on him, played well, we won. The next week, we're playing Fremantle in Perth. He calls, Pavlich.
Yeah.
Went okay, we lost that game, but I kept Pav, relatively quiet. Playing St Kilda the next week, I'm going, surely not. Rings, Rewalt.
Yeah.
And it evolved from that. Like, I don't think going into that season I was going to play centre half back, but it worked and kept working. And for whatever reason, I enjoyed playing on the bigger guys more because it was before the chopping of the arm rule.
Yeah.
So I could use my leg speed to keep up with them, vertical leap to bring it to ground. You could, punch them in the back of the head and chop their arms. And your job was pretty much done. Once the ball hit the ground, they were sort of out of the contest.
Yeah.
We got on a bit of a roll. We started winning some games, and then, you start to get some of that outside recognition. And I mean, I wasn't expecting to be All-Australian that year.
Mm-hmm.
There's Andrew McLeod on the half-back flank. There was Egan. You remember Egan from the Geelong Cats? He broke his foot, never ever played again.
That is a name I haven't heard of in ages.
So he was centre half back.
Yeah.
And I was thinking on the night, I played the whole year centre half back. So when I wasn't named centre half back, I was like, I wasn't selected. And they threw me on the half back flank next to Andrew McLeod. Like, he's one of the classiest footballers of all time. Great decision maker, great user, like just silk. And then you got me who can't hit a target.
Got the goat on one side and the dog on the other
the dog
side.
on the other. It's quite extraordinary. The boys still laugh about that. That never has there been more an out of place half-back flanker. But that was my best season by a mile.
Yeah, and then obviously moving into 08, the
Premiership year.
That would have been pretty cool.
Well, we got a bit of confidence about the group because we played finals for the first time in 07 collectively, and we won that famous final against Adelaide where Buddy kicked 7.
Mm-hmm.
And we tasted finals footy, and we'd been building for a few years. Going into 08, we knew we were a good side, maybe a top 4 side, but I don't think we realistically thought we would win the flag. Geelong were that much better than us, we played good footy. We developed that full ground press that Clarko's cluster, and we're a hard side to play against. All the players knew what their role was. Were pretty disciplined in that, and we got into the first final against the Doggies. Buddy kicked 8 goals in the qualifying final. We had the week off. Played St Kilda in the prelim, won by 10 or 11 goals, dominated. And next minute we're into a grand final against our enemy, the Cats, who'd won the year before and only lost 1 game in 08.
Yeah.
But we always felt like we matched up pretty well against them. We had some quick, agile forwards that caused them some trouble. Mark Williams, Cyril, Michael Osborne. I'd go forward for 1 or 2 weeks a year against the Cats, bit of leg speed. Buddy and Ruffy, obviously, and for whatever reason, we troubled the Cats defenders.
Yeah.
And we know, the rest is history. They kicked very inaccurately, and they should have been 5 goals up at half time, but kept missing. And
Stewie Jew comes out.
Has that huge 7 or 8 minutes where he kicks a couple and sets up a couple, and we had little cameos. Like, I would say that some of our best players, and Bud didn't do a lot. He kicked a couple of important goals. Ruff didn't do a lot. Sammy Mitchell was quite quiet. We had a few good players down, but we had some really important roles from Xavier Ellis, like best game he's ever played.
Yeah.
Clinton Young leading the Norm Smith medal to half time, and he hurts himself.
Yeah.
Cyril in his first year, bobs up, kicks a couple. Hodgie obviously wins the Norm Smith, but we had a real contribution across the board from a lot of our sort of role players that are really important in big finals.
Yeah, well, I look back in preparation for this, at just the team, I forgot just how stacked it was.
It was
Just
stacked.
when you look back at it, Cyril, Sewell, Ellis, yourself, Buddy, Roughhead, Hodge, Mitchell,
Bateman,
Dew. It's like the who's who. And then, of course, Clarko, coach, he's gone on to be absolute just bloody guru of the game. Like, you look back at it, and it makes a lot of sense looking back on it. But I guess in that moment when you guys were considered the underdogs, like, were you always thinking, no, we've got him here? Or was it just a fight tooth and nail to the end? Did you ever think we've got him? Or
Yeah, like going into the game, like we probably had the arrogance of youth, you know, like we were young and brash and had nothing to lose because we were such massive underdogs. I remember thinking in the second quarter, I'd gone from forward down back. Trent Croad had broken his foot. He was out. He was, you know, really important for us. And they had like 17 inside 50s. And like, it was a hot day and we were just under the pump. And I just remember thinking, like, the damn wall has to break. Like, we're getting dominated around the ground, everything. But they just kept missing. And it felt like we were down by a lot at halftime. Yeah. But Clinton Young kicked a massive goal from 60, and then Cam Mooney misses one from the top of the square. And literally, like, you're that caught up, and you look up at the scoreboard, and you feel like you're down by 5 goals, and we're up by 2 or 3 points. Yeah. And psychologically, that was pretty important because we walked down in the rooms and we were all rooted because we've been chasing arse, you know. And then the talk turns to, boys, how bad have we been playing? But we're in front. Yeah. You know, like, if we can actually get a few things going in this third quarter, like, we can win it. And then the boys start believing in the first 15 minutes, real arm wrestle, no one really scored. And then you've spoken, Stewie G, we go bang, 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 bang. Next minute, we're 30 points up. Yeah, wow. You know, and then the panic starts setting in for the Cats a little bit. They start doing a few things that they would never usually do, panicking a bit, you know, rushing with their decision-making. And next minute, you know, we hold on. And so, yeah, that's probably the moment that I, you know, I thought we can win it at half-time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And what was that moment like when the final siren goes? It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's the pinnacle of sport. I didn't play in many premierships as a junior. You know, you got those young guys that playing, you know, 4 or 5 winning premierships as under 12s, 14, TAC, whatever. I'd never really experienced it, and certainly the first 6 or 7 years at Hawthorn were pretty lean. Yeah. You know, you dream of it as a kid, but you never really think that you're ever gonna get to live it out. Yeah. And I just remember how, I mean, you pump for yourself and your family and everything, but I just remember looking up and seeing Crawf, you know, 305 games, 17 years, carried that club for a long time. And, like, if there was one person that deserved to win a flag in their last ever game, certainly from a Hawthorn perspective, it was Shane Crawford. Yeah. And, like, you just can't help but well up a little bit. Like, when he comes running in, you hug him, and you can't believe, you know, he's gonna finish up as winning that premiership. It was a pretty special moment. And then you celebrate, you have your good time, and immediately leading into the next pre-season, you're the one that's getting hunted, right? Yeah. And your expectation is you'll win it again. Yeah. And, like, I never got another opportunity to play in a grand final, let alone win another flag. So, you know, like, you don't take it for granted, but they're bloody hard to win. Yeah. And it was a completely different side that went on to win 13, 14 and 15. Like, there was probably 14 or 15 guys that had moved on. Mm-hmm. And Clark had rebuilt that side with Stratton and Piopolo and Isaac Smith and, you know, the next Bruce, Suckling, Geray, like the next group coming through. So, yeah, it was great. I'd love another, you know, opportunity to have played in another grand final. But that's not the case in professional sport.
And what was I'm sure the partying would have been...
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was fun. We went to Hong Kong on the footy trip. Actually went to the races, Sha Tin and Happy Valley, and geez, we had a good time. Yeah,
probably. Any good stories that you can probably share?
Oh, a lot goes on in Lang Kwai Fong down there. Some people argue that our partying went for a little bit too long because we came back and we're a bit unfit first day of pre-season. That happens to a young group.
No.
Oh, well, good. Well, then moving, what was it like to go from Hawks coming off the back of a premiership and then still some pretty good years without making it back to the grand final to all of a sudden moving to the new franchise team where it was building from scratch? Was it, did you find that rewarding to be able to be in that period of the club, or did you find it frustrating because you're getting
Yeah,
like beat every week sort of thing?
initially the overwhelming feeling was excitement,
Yep.
because you are building a club from nothing, blank canvas, and then as a senior guy, like there was the expectation for our 7 senior guys was way more than I had ever felt at Hawthorn. Being just a role player, all my job was to get 10 touches a week, some spoils, some tackles, a bit of leadership, and I found sort of the expectation for the Gold Coast was you had to do way more than that.
Yeah.
And as a player, I wasn't capable of that. That was never my role at Hawthorn, to be a 25-touch halfback flanker that ran and carried and that. So I was a bit frustrated in that regard, and we were getting beaten a lot, which was to be expected, but probably the lack of competitiveness, was irritating. I got a bit grumpy and started belting blokes. So I missed a few weeks of, our second game. So we had a bye in round 1. We played Carlton in round 2, our first game, lost by 100 points.
Yeah.
Then we go down to Etihad Stadium and play the Doggies in round 3, our second game. And for whatever reason, I was just angry. And I elbowed Callum Ward, got a couple for that. Then I charged Barry Hall, got a couple for that. And I think I knocked out Jared Grant, got reported for that. I got off that, luckily, but I ended up getting 4 weeks, and a lot of footy pundits thought I should have got a lot more, maybe 6.
These days you'd get.
Oh, you'd be finished.
Oh, we were looking back on the old classic Fox footies, and even from like 2015 games, some of the hits they put on, you'd be getting 6 weeks for it now. And the commentators are saying, oh, they might be in a bit of trouble. They might cop a fine this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine at most. Like.
I know. It's changed, and it's changed, for the better, I think. Concussions are huge. Obviously, we've got to respect, what happens above the head, and some of the stories you've heard from past players that have got multiple concussions is devastating.
Scary,
So a lot of people sort of say, oh, they were the good old days and everything. They were, in terms of the physicality, but the game's much safer now, and I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Even if some of those big hits are, over analysed, and I thought Braden Maynard did not a thing wrong.
Yeah.
In that regard, and he nearly missed the grand final because of it, which would have been devastating. Now that the rules are clear, like if you jump off the ground and hit someone high, and you're in trouble. So the onus just goes back on the player a bit more. But it's different. I'm glad I'm not playing now, because I got 29 weeks when I played. I reckon now I'd get 40 plus, and would never have been able to get out there on the park. So it would have been a liability.
Mate, I say Toby Green gets suspended a lot, mate. You were the
He
original one.
Yeah. Well, there were a few before me, but guys like Steve Baker and and myself and some of those guys, you just managed to find trouble, didn't we?
Tribunal became the second home.
No, I think my favourite one was, we were watching last night. I think your international game against
International rules.
And we put it on, and you put this massive hip and shoulder on the guy, and I'm like, that's a pretty fair hit. And he goes, yeah, you're not actually allowed to do that.
They
can't do that in Gaelic footy.
They actually give you a rule book, right?
Yeah.
The AFL give you a rule book when you get selected to play international rules.
Yeah.
And I didn't read it.
Yeah, did you know the rules?
No idea. So when I put that hit on, in footy,
that's
straight down the middle was clean as.
I was like, that's a good hit.
So when the umpire, McBurney, I think it was Steve McBurney, pulls out the whistle, pulls out the yellow card, you can sort of see me going what? But he said, you're not allowed to bump in international rules. I went, fuck, I should have read the rule book. But that was retribution from 2006 when I went over to Ireland, and we played at Croke Park, and one of the Irish guys, Graham Geraghty, was their enforcer. I bent down to pick up the ball. He came running past. He kicked me that hard in the hip that he fractured my pelvis, iliac crest crack, and I missed 6 weeks of pre-season because I literally had a broken hip, and I was ropeable. It was a dirty shot, and I was injured, and I was hobbling around, you know, and I was like, if I ever get picked for Australia again and play Ireland, someone's going to cop it. And unfortunately, it was that bloke.
And what's it like getting into? Obviously, you got the best players around you. What's it like getting into that kind of group? Are you guys all like friends and get along? Like, is there a lot of team building stuff?
Yeah. Like I think 06, I was like 23-ish. So I'd played 3 or 4 years. You know the players because you've played against them.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I'd ever been in an environment where you get to be up close and personal. I roomed with Fev.
Yeah.
You do recovery with Michael Voss, Dustin Fletcher, like legends of the game. Barry Hall, Ryan O'Keefe, and probably the one thing I took out of it was I know it's international rules, so you're meant to have a bit of fun and have a few drinks and enjoy yourself. But I worked out that I actually trained and prepared and was as professional, if not more, than a few of these guys. So it just instilled a bit of confidence in me that I'm working hard.
Yeah.
I'm not at their level by any means yet, but it's not out of reach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you keep believing in yourself and keep training hard and everything, and I reckon there's no surprise that on the back of that 06 Irish trip, I came out and was all Australian 07. Like I reckon that played a bit of a role. Yeah.
Yeah,
I reckon they need to bring it back. I used to love watching the games. It was great because I love Gaelic footy. To see like the Irish boys come out or you go over there, I thought it was great. COVID. Was that why they stopped?
I think it just stopped because there was a lack of interest from players a little bit because like now the demands on players are so high that when the off season comes around, a lot of the players just want to shoot off for a month, go with their girlfriends overseas, switch their brain. I still train and prepare, but on their terms.
Yeah.
And when you commit to an Irish tour, it really is 20 odd days. You're on buses, on planes, team meetings, training, playing, and while it's a great experience, like you can,
no break.
There's no break.
Yeah.
You come back, and 2 weeks later you start your pre-season.
Yeah.
You can get a bit worn out.
It's fair enough.
You also run the risk of, like you said, you got injured. So that's probably.
Yeah. So a lot of the best players that you want when you're picking Australian side, you want at least a majority of them worthy of playing. And when you're asking the best players, most of the All-Australian team, they knock it back or they're getting their surgeries done or they can't be bothered. It just loses that appeal a little bit to the point where they go, oh, there's no point us running the series,
Yeah.
I'd love to see that come back and things like the All-Star game, like Victoria versus Dream Team, because I know AFL keep trying to figure out what they do with the preseason. They tried AFLX, didn't really work.
No, that was a disaster. Yeah, never again AFLX.
I remember watching that thinking, this is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
It's like Big Bash. Literally for AFL.
Yeah, you got to keep evolving. Like I don't begrudge them for trying something.
No, 100%,
but
100%.
Like it didn't work, and so you just scrap it and you come up with another concept. And I'm a massive lover of State of Origin. I watch the NRL State of Origin every year. The passion.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to play in that 08 Vic versus All Stars game, and again, brilliant. But it was circle work for the first 3 quarters. There was no one defending.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like a real game.
Yeah.
If there was a hard ball there, you sort of, you let someone come through because, again, just in the back of your mind, you're like, we've got bigger fish to fry here. I want to play finals footy and win a premiership. I don't want to be dislocating a shoulder or getting injured in a game like that.
Fair enough.
Exactly right. Well, another interesting experience you got to do. Can you please explain to us what the fuck is kabaddi?
It's a great question. It's exactly what I said when I got asked if I'd play it. Great story. The guy that was organising the trip was a guy called Bruce Cater, who used to manage Matty Dellavedova and Andrew Bogut, and he's a player manager. And he cold called me out of the blue one day and said, Campbell, you don't know me. My name's Bruce. I've got an idea that I'd love to put to you. And he basically said, I want to come over to India and play for Australia in kabaddi. And I said exactly that. What the fuck is kabaddi? And he sent me some vision and explained it a little bit. It's like British Bulldogs, 7 aside, and 1 raider goes across to the other side of the court, and you have to chant the words Kabaddi for the 30-second raid, and you've got to tag these people and get back to your side without getting maimed, really. There's no rules after that. They can pull your hair, chicken wing, grab your leg. And if you can get back, you get a point and you're out. So then it's 7 versus 6.
Okay.
Hard game to describe, right?
You come there, watch it happen.
And then they raid, and your job is to try and avoid them, or if they tag you, bang, tackle them. And I loved it, right?
Yeah. Well.
But it was a bit weird, and I knocked it back. I said, I'm too busy. Got a kid and whatnot. And then he rang me back 2 days later, and he said, Campbell, I know you said no, but how would you like to be the captain of the Australian Kabaddi team? Sort of the chest comes out. I've always wanted to be the captain of my country. I said, mate, I'm in. I'm in. I suppose that I've voted in by my peers. And he said, oh, not exactly. I said, has it been ratified by the Australian Kabaddi Commission? He said, no, it hasn't. I said, well, how come you've made me captain? He said, well, you're the first person that's committed to the trip. Can you help me put a team together? So that's the only reason I was named captain. But we got a team together, went over there, played in India. It was televised on Star Sports. Opening night, we played India, linked arms, sang the national anthem. Really proud moment. I just remember standing there looking across at the Indian team and thinking, got no fucking idea what this game is. And we got pumped. And I think there was 180 million people watched that opening game because it's the second biggest sport over there behind cricket.
Oh, wow.
You know how fanatical they are about their cricket.
Yeah.
They love Kabaddi. And it was a great experience. And I thought when we came back from that, we'd be better for the run. The next World Cup in 3 years' time, we'll know the rules. We'll be able to put a better team together, be able to train, really have a crack. And that World Cup came and went, and we never got invited back.
Oh, right.
So they've kicked Australia out
of the
Kabaddi Champ World Cup forever. So I'm still the captain of the Australian Kabaddi team, and I think I will be forever.
Oh, fucking, I reckon we get an AFL Kabaddi comp going.
Let's do it.
Let's start training them up and send one back over.
It's so good.
All right, mate. Let's chat punting.
Okay.
Like you said, it's the old stomping ground for a reason. So you've owned a few good horses, one of which is synonymous with the Magic Millions weekend. So can you talk us through that whole experience of getting not only a horse, but a real good horse in that sweet idea?
Yeah, it's pure luck from my perspective. I'd loved horse racing. My old man owned horses. When I got to Hawthorn, Croft introduced me to Johnny O'Neill, and he owned some horses, Fenner Fighter and a few. So you get caught up in that a little bit. But it wasn't actually till I moved up here to join the Suns that I ever really even knew or had a good understanding of what the Magic Millions were in terms of the sales and just how big the race day was, and Jerry Harvey's done an unbelievable job as far as I'm concerned in the last 15 years building it up to what it is today because it's unbelievable. And I met Gay Waterhouse. I met David and Luke Henderson, who had the brown colours, and they still raced some horses. They won the Caulfield Cup, Desperado, and you'd remember in that era, the brown Gay Waterhouse colours were winning everything.
Yep.
They were big Suns supporters. They knew I liked racing. They said, next time, the Magic Millions come around, we'll introduce you to Gay. We'll go look at a few horses. I'd never done that before. Yeah. So all of a sudden you've got your book. I got no fucking idea what I'm looking for.
That's what we're doing at the moment.
You pretend you know the pedigree. And
this one looks good.
You get them to walk one out and they say something about, your strong hind quarters.
Oh, mate, that's literally...
Big ass.
Yeah.
Looks good.
But that's the learnings, right? And so I did that and, they said, we've earmarked a couple of horses for later in the week, some fillies and da-da-da. And then it ended up, we bought a lot on Saturday night. So after the races, everyone goes across there and, I'd had a few drinks and someone's... it's really fun. Yeah. And someone says, that filly that, we looked at a couple of days ago is coming up. And, I remember that one, So it's Philida Schnitzel. And you just start bidding for it, And, we won the bid, paid $240,000 for us. She was an expensive filly back then, especially Schnitzel hadn't done anything back then. So it was not speculative because they had a good opinion of the horse, but you don't know what you're going to get as a yearling. Called the horse Sweet Idea. She came out and won her first ever start at Randwick. I was there that day in a maiden, broke the track record, and you went, oh, okay, like maybe she's got a bit of ability. Ran second, went to I think it's the McLaughlin.
BJ McLaughlin.
Yeah, up in Doomben. Ran a really good second because she did a fair bit of work early. And Gay sort of rang and said, oh, she's qualified for the 2-year-old Magic Millions. We think we can win it. And jumped and led the whole way, gave a kick on the turn, looked home. And this horse from the rear of the field, real surreal. I don't reckon that horse ever went on and won another race. Weave through, huge, collars are on the line. We run second and shattered. Would have been a really big result. And then she becomes a 3-year-old, keeps winning, wins a couple of Group 2s, and all of a sudden Gay rings again and says, we're going to aim her at the 3-year-old Magic Millions and a bit of redemption for last year. So I tell all the Suns boys, the whole team, Kenny Hinkley, Dean Solomon, the coaches, Matty Primus, they all love a bet. We've backed this thing at big price, months out to win the 3-year-old Magic Millions. She jumps at 480 second elect. Exactly the same as a 2-year-old, jumps, goes to the front, kicks. And this time I kept looking for something to be running on. It didn't. Bang, James McDonald rode it. He was a youngster back then. And we win the Magic Millions as a 3-year-old and went off like it was one of the great. It's right up there with winning the flag.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. And that was a big night as well.
Yeah, spent the night in the Clink, which was great.
Oh, yeah.
A big night, celebrated, sales, out for dinner in Broady, went to an East nightclub, got a couple of booths, and finished up at the Surfers Paradise jailhouse.
Just got too rowdy.
Just a nice little finish to the night. Yeah,
Perfect.
it was glad. That's what you want, isn't it? Nothing untoward, but
sounds like a good night.
Oh, well, you had the money to cover your bail.
Exactly. Yeah, got bail money, which is good.
Oh well, so you reckon it's up there, winning a big race than winning a flag?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the feeling of adulation, when the horse crosses the line and when the siren goes, same thing. The only difference I would say is when you're a footballer, you personally feel like you earned it because you trained, you played, you did everything, blood, sweat and tears. Whereas when you're a horse owner, the feeling's the same, but I don't train the horse. I didn't ride the horse. I don't do track work or feed it or anything. I just pay the bills. So you love it and that feeling's amazing, but you just probably don't have that feeling of ownership of, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, well, good. So did that love that started to gain over the years, did that drive you to get into racing media or did it just fall in your lap sort of thing?
Well, it was just a hobby for me. I just loved owning horses with friends and then that happened. And then she went on and won a Group 1, won the Galaxy on Slipper Day. And then, I bought another one with Gay, which wasn't as successful, but My True Love, Group 2 and Group 3 placed. So that was pretty good. And you just keep buying horses and next minute a few opportunities sort of opened up when I finished footy with racing.com and with, I did some work with Matty Tripp at Bet Easy. It became Crown Bet that then merged with Sports Bet. And all of a sudden, because you owned a Group 1 winner, people sort of started to want to go into horses with you and started to want tips and respect your opinion a bit more. You know what I mean? Not that I'd done anything, but it went from hobby to becoming part-time work to now, I'm pretty much 90% racing.
Tip for a living.
Tipping, work for Ladbrokes, all consuming. Was at the Devonport Cup on Wednesday. I'm here today. You travel, I'm going to Karaka Magic Millions with Bossy and Damien Oliver. And all of a sudden you're like, what a great job. I'm literally travelling around Australia.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And going to country race meets, big race meets, you tip and winners, it's social, it's just everything that a person like me would want. Get out and about, meet people, and that's what I love about the racing industry.
Yeah, nice.
So the racing industry keeps banging on about getting young people involved. Since you'd probably be one of the biggest advocates for getting down to the races, what do you think they actually need to do to get the young people to the races?
Well, I think they're on the right path in terms of you've got to balance in any sport, keep tradition, but innovation and doing things to encourage the next generation to come through. And like we spoke about the Big Bash, you know, just before. That is a classic example, you know, because youngsters these days, like they don't want to watch 30 minutes on TV. They want to watch 5 minutes on their iPhone, right? It's the same with sport. They don't want to sit there and watch a 50-over test, one-dayer, right?
Yeah.
They want over and done with entertainment, music, fireworks, right? And cricket did that. A few other sports have done that, and racing, I think, it just got stuck in the stone age of the committees. Quite often, the older generation that have been doing it for 40 years and love it, but sometimes they like to do things their way because that's always been the way. And Peter V'landys, I think, is the best sports administrator in the country. What he's done in Sydney for Sydney racing, and Victorian people will hate me saying it, but the Everest, you know, some of the Golden Eagle, like these races, and they've got bands and DJs that come on. So you don't just want to make it a race day where you have to love horses and punting to want to go.
Yeah.
Take some friends that aren't interested in horses,
Yeah.
but they know that there's going to be some music on, or there's going to be, they might be in a fashion or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like real similar to like live golf as well. Like that's
100%.
Perfect example.
Yep, spot on.
And a lot of people, again, will hate hearing that because they're all old fashioned and love the PGA. But I went to a live golf out in London this last year. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't reckon I could watch normal golf PGA. Like I could watch it on TV, but
The sport needed a shake-up, didn't it?
It was,
because it was
it's
so
great.
fucking boring.
It was great. No, 100%.
And now you got drinking out of shoes, and
it's awesome.
they flew
Music.
Fisher out to do Live Adelaide, and like everyone that's gone to Live has left with an amazing experience, you know. And then they tell their friends,
100%.
and then they go back the next year. So I think racing is starting to get that a bit. Like every time I go to the races now, it's more about the experience and not just horses and wagering.
Because I've seen that a bit in Melbourne, correct me if I'm wrong, they're starting to do quite a lot of concerts post-races.
Yep.
Because Sydney will do them in carnivals.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, like even on just some off days, like they'll still put a big concert on afterwards to try and get people down there.
And another one as well, and the MRC did a great job with this, is activities for kids, you know, because sometimes I'm a father and you want to go to the races, but like sometimes it's too hard to take the kids. Whereas if you know you can go with them, pony rides, face painting, I think they call it the Giddy GG Club or whatever. They join and they can do their thing. You can have a beer and socialise and do your thing. And I think all those sort of things are really important to get new people to the races. And then once they get them there, like they'll come back. And they'll have a bet.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, so Magic Millions is great like that as well because they sell not just the race day and the sales, but come up for a holiday.
Yeah,
you know, beach.
Good. No, we're definitely enjoying it.
Yeah, it's the best.
We're looking
best
forward
week
to
of the
Saturday.
year. This I usually come up here Monday and leave Sunday, have a week. It's
that's what we're doing.
the greatest thing of all time.
It's been pretty good so far.
Had a big one last night at the Cass.
Oh, did you? I've matured now. I've hit 40. You know, I've been doing this for a decade, but you blokes are right in the sweet spot.
We're doing it.
All right, good. Well, to finish up, we'll hit you with a few quick fire questions.
Yes.
So, what would you say best punting venue is?
Randwick.
Randwick?
Yep, absolutely love it.
Yeah. Worst punting venue?
Oh, worst. Geez, I've never had a lot of luck at Mornington. It's nothing to do with the actual. It's picturesque. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But you just got to back Mornington trained horses, and for whatever reason, I can't get near them. So, no knock on the course or the club, but just my own bad luck or bad judgment.
Yeah. Is Randwick the best viewing?
Yeah, I think so. Like their new facilities there. You know, you can go up to the stables, and I reckon the mounting yard on the other side is like world class.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy getting to Sydney and going to Randwick. Rosehill, no. Warwick Farm, definitely not.
Yeah.
But like, I would only go to Randwick. Or if I had a horse run in a Group 1 at the other places. But, yeah.
Fair enough. And just literally some random questions. What's your favourite beer?
I don't actually drink beer.
Don't drink?
No, I
What's
drink
your
apple cider.
apple
Yeah,
cider?
I'm a
it's
big
Summersby,
cider man.
Summersby
I
apple
love a
cider.
Summersby. Very
And
glad to hear that.
I'm big now on those White Claws. You know, the
Oh, yeah.
vodka lime soda White
Yep.
Claws
Yeah.
and stuff. If I had to choose a beer, it'd be like one Stone Wood,
Yeah,
and that's it. Then I'm moving off
On the
that'd be
spirits.
just onto the apple ciders and the voddies or the Malibu pineapples.
I've heard that. I've heard the rumours about the Malibu
Yeah,
pineapples.
they're elite, but sometimes it's hard to find venues that stock Malibu.
Oh, I
really?
love a bit of Malibu. My dad always, when he goes up to the bar and I ask for a Malibu, he just looks at me like,
Yeah,
"What the fuck you doing?"
yeah.
But I'm like, nah, it's nice.
Oh, that's good. Good drink. What's your go-to pub meal?
Palmer. Yeah, yep.
Oh, Palmer,
Palmer.
mate, we're from Sydney.
We call it a Palmer in Melbourne.
it's
Palmer
Palmer.
and chips. Or the barbecue pork spare ribs if they've got them. Yeah, they're always good.
Yeah, nice. And then we always leave our guests with one question. So, what's next for you?
Any big plans for 2024?
I think this year I'm just going to be pretty cruisy. Like last year was a huge year for me. I turned 40. I went to Royal Randwick in the middle of the year. I had a crack at climbing Mount Aconcagua in Argentina. Just got back from that. Throw in, a wedding in Mexico. Best mate's 40th in Bali. Like I had a big year. I think this year just a bit of consolidation. Just relax. I don't have any big plans. But I'd like to keep backing some winners.
Yeah, nice.
You got any futures bets on?
I'm a shocking futures punter. No, I really like Spy Wire in the 2-year-old.
Yep.
It's just drawn a shocking gate, but I know the owners obviously, and I reckon it should be undefeated. Ran serious time here on Saturday, and I mean 2-year-old races are funny, and the barrier can often get you beat. It's a strong 2-year-old race this year.
Yeah, it is.
But no futures. No.
Okay.
I'm the same. I like futures.
I've only landed one big futures bet, and that was Osmosis in the Coolmore.
And that was
Good.
Yeah.
well.
What price?
I got it, well, to be fair, I got it at 8, thinking that was going to be much shorter. And then when it blew right back out, got on it again because I just tipped it from months out, knew it was going there. I was like, nah, it's going to win. When it started to drift, I got a little worried, but then big result when it came in.
I had a futures here 2 years ago, and it involved, so it was Coolangatta to win the 2-year-old.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mimi Legato the place in the 3-year-old, which ran a really nice second and like paid $440 or something.
nice.
Big price. Into the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, and it was the year that it was in LA, so 2 years ago. And so I ticked off Coolangatta and Mimi Legato, Legard, whatever you call it, and all I needed was Kansas City to make it.
Yeah.
I was going. It was to win a fortune. Could have laid off. Had a great free trip.
Yep.
And they were up 19. They were up like 20-0 at half time against the Bengals.
Yeah.
Mate, I had 1 foot on the plane, and the Bengals came back and fucking won in OT. Yeah. Mate, ropeable.
At the sickest speed of all time, you reckon?
Oh, up there. I couldn't tell you how angry I was. I still went, but like I didn't have my futures bet. I couldn't lay off, so that's the last time I had a futures.
It's always that last leg.
Especially when you're up, that much. A good side too. It's not like they were underdog, they Paddy Mahomes for Christ. And then they come out and win the next year just to really rub it in.
That's it.
Oh, well, any more questions, mate?
No, we'll finish it up. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Good stuff, boys.
appreciate it.
Good chat.
Thanks for having me.
No worries.
All the best. Tune in.